A group of four close friends, seeking adventure and a break from their monotonous city life, decide to spend a night in an abandoned farmhouse on the outskirts of town. The house, hidden behind overgrown bushes and old iron gates, has been empty for decades, and locals tell stories of strange disappearances and eerie sounds at night. Excited but slightly nervous, the friends arrive just before sunset, joking and taking selfies as they approach the creaking front door. As they step inside, the air feels unusually cold, carrying a faint, musty odor that hints at years of neglect. The walls, peeling and cracked, are covered in faded portraits whose eyes seem to follow their every move. They explore the main hall, whispering nervously as shadows stretch across the floor with the fading light. The group finds old furniture covered in dust and cobwebs, and a broken chandelier sways gently, although no breeze enters the house. Their laughter fades as the sun dips below the horizon, leaving the farmhouse bathed in the pale, silvery glow of the moon. Suddenly, a door upstairs slams shut with a deafening bang, making their hearts race. One friend dares to suggest splitting up to investigate, but another hesitates, feeling a strange presence watching them. As night falls completely, the darkness seems to thicken, almost like a living entity surrounding them. Faint whispers echo through the empty rooms, growing louder each time they try to leave the main hall. Every corner they turn reveals fleeting shadows and moving shapes that vanish the moment anyone looks directly at them. Their initial excitement turns into fear, realizing that the farmhouse may not be abandoned after all. Something unseen is aware of their presence, and the longer they stay, the more they feel trapped, as if the house itself refuses to let them leave. This single night becomes a test of courage, as their playful adventure begins to transform into a night of terror, where the line between reality and the... After the first night in the farmhouse leaves them shaken but alive, the friends decide to continue exploring the property during the next evening, hoping to uncover the mysteries that have terrified them. They enter cautiously, armed with flashlights and a small handheld camera, documenting every creaking floorboard and shadowy corner. The farmhouse seems almost different this night. The air is colder than before, and the silence is heavier, pressing down on them like an invisible weight. The portraits on the walls now seem more menacing, their faded eyes appearing sharper in the dim flashlight beams. As they move deeper into the house, strange phenomena begin immediately. Doors that were shut the previous night now hang ajar, swaying slightly, although no wind enters the building. Faint whispers echo in the hallways, forming words that none of them can fully understand. One of the friends notices shadows moving independently of their own, darting across walls and floors before vanishing abruptly. A sense of being watched grows stronger with every step. They decide to investigate the upstairs rooms, where they discover old furniture arranged unnaturally, as if someone or something has moved it recently. The air becomes thick and oppressive, making it difficult to breathe. The friends try to laugh off their fear, but suddenly the sound of footsteps following them from behind forces them to freeze. No one is there, yet the steps continue, echoing louder in the otherwise empty house. As they reach the attic, the whispers grow into agonized cries, and the shadows converge into a dark, humanoid form that moves just beyond the reach of their lights. Panic sets in as they realize the house is alive with an unseen presence, aware of every motion, every breath, and every heartbeat. Their fear escalates, and the farmhouse becomes a trap, holding them within its walls as the supernatural tension tightens like a noose. By the end of this night, the friends understand that Leah. The third night in the abandoned farmhouse begins with a tense atmosphere. The friends are no longer excited adventurers, but terrified survivors, their nerves frayed from the previous encounters. They gather their flashlights, candles, and camera equipment, trying to document what has been happening. The air inside the house feels thicker, almost as if it's alive, moving around them like a cold, invisible fog. Even before entering, the The front door groans ominously as if warning them to turn back, but curiosity and fear push them forward. Once inside, the hallways seem endless, stretching unnaturally in the flickering light. Every door they pass appears to change position subtly, creating the disorienting feeling that the house is rearranging itself while they move. Shadows crawl along the walls independently, and faint whispers echo from the corners of every room. One friend notices that the old portrait's eyes now seem to glow faintly, following their movements, and some faces appear distorted, as if twisted in silent screams. While exploring the kitchen, objects begin moving on their own. Cups slide across the table, chairs tilt without cause, and the cupboard doors slam repeatedly. The friends huddle together, but the fear escalates as one of them spots a shadowy figure at the top of the staircase. The figure seems human-shaped, but impossibly tall and dark, with no discernible features. Its presence is suffocating, and even speaking feels impossible. When they attempt to leave, they find the doors locked or leading them back into the same rooms, as if the house refuses to let them escape. The whispers turn into faint cries for help, and the figure moves closer, gliding silently across the floor. Their panic rises, and rational thought begins to fade under the pressure of the supernatural forces surrounding them. By the end of the night, the friends realize the farmhouse is not just haunted. It is sentient, actively manipulating reality to trap them. Every moment, By the fourth night, the friends are terrified but compelled to uncover the farmhouse's secrets. The previous night's events have left them restless, haunted by fleeting shadows and inexplicable sounds. They decide to explore the upper floors more thoroughly, hoping to document the phenomena and understand the strange occurrences. As they step inside, the house seems darker than ever, the walls closing in with a suffocating stillness, and the faint smell of decay and damp what fills the air. As they move through the hallways, the whispers grow louder, forming half-words and distorted syllables that seem to follow them from room to room. One friend records the surroundings with a flashlight, but the camera captures fleeting images invisible to the naked eye. Dark silhouettes darting across floors, blurred faces appearing in windows, and walls that seem to ripple as if alive. Every creak and groan of the old structure is amplified, echoing through the empty house like a chorus of unseen footsteps. In the attic, they discover old furniture stacked in impossible angles, and a faint light flickers from behind a cracked, boarded-up window. A dark, human-shaped figure slowly emerges from the shadows, moving unnaturally fast, yet silent. Its presence feels suffocating, like the air itself is being pulled from their lungs. Every attempt to communicate fails. The figure seems unresponsive yet aware of their fear. As panic sets in, the friends realize that time seems distorted inside the house. Clocks have stopped, shadows stretch unnaturally long, and every room they enter feels subtly different from the one they left. They try to leave, but the hallways twist and turn, trapping them in an endless maze. The whispers now form coherent words, pleading and threatening simultaneously, revealing the malevolent intelligence behind the haunting. By the end of the night, the friends comprehend a horrifying truth. The farmhouse is alive with a dark consciousness that observes, manipula. On the fifth night, the friends are no longer naive explorers. They are terrified and exhausted, each step into the farmhouse heavy with dread. The previous nights have shown them glimpses of a malevolent presence, and tonight they feel its attention more intensely. The air is colder, the shadows darker, and even the faintest sound echoes unnaturally through the empty halls. They realize the house seems to respond to their fear, stretching corridors, shifting doors, and amplifying every whisper into a chorus of unseen voices. Determined to confront what haunts them, they move cautiously toward the basement, a place none of them had dared enter before. The stairs creak under their weight, yet the darkness below feels alive, almost breathing. As they reach the bottom, the temperature drops sharply, their breath visible in the air. Objects begin moving on their own. Chairs topple, boxes slide across the floor, and a shattered mirror reflects a shadow that doesn't belong to any of them. The whispers grow louder, forming chilling phrases like, "You shouldn't be here," and "leave," or "stay forever." One friend shines the flashlight into a corner and sees a tall, faceless figure standing motionless, watching them. Its presence is oppressive, filling the basement with a weight that makes it hard to breathe or think. The friends try to retreat, but the basement door slams shut, trapping them. Panic sets in as the figure slowly moves closer, yet it makes no sound, its motion impossible to follow with the eye. Realizing that the house feeds on fear, the friends cling to each other, desperately searching for a way out. Every escape attempt seems futile as the house warps reality, twisting hallways, elongating shadows, and creating endless loops that trap them inside. By the end of the night, they understand that the farmhouse is not just haunted. It is sentient, actively hunting them, and will not release its prey without exacting a terrifying price. By the sixth night, the friends are mentally and physically drained, but a mixture of curiosity and desperation drives them back into the farmhouse. They know the house is alive, manipulating reality around them, yet they feel compelled to uncover its secrets. Tonight, they decide to explore the oldest section of the house, the attic, a place rumored to contain the remnants of its previous inhabitants and possibly clues to the malevolent presence that stalks them. As they climb the narrow, creaking staircase, a thick, icy fog fills the air, making each breath sharp and painful. Their flashlights flicker, revealing warped shadows along the walls that seem to move independently. Strange whispers echo from every corner, and the sound of distant, dragging footsteps follows them up each step, though no one is there. The attic door groans and shakes, as if resisting their entry, but finally, they push it open. Inside, the room is cluttered with old trunks, broken furniture, and dust-covered relics of a long-forgotten era. On the floor lies a tattered diary, its pages yellowed and fragile. As one friend opens it, the words seem to rearrange themselves, revealing a horrifying account of a family that was trapped and tormented by the house decades ago. The diary describes shadows moving on their own, voices whispering threats, and a dark entity that fed on fear, ensuring that no one left alive. Suddenly, the temperature drops further, and a black, humanoid shadow emerges from the far corner of the attic. It glides silently toward them, unnaturally tall and faceless, exuding an aura of pure malice. The friends freeze in terror, realizing the diary's warnings were real and that they have now stepped fully into the entity's domain. By the end of the night, they understand that the house is not just haunted, it is intelligent, aware of intruders, and capable of bending reality to trap them. Survival now depends on navigating the house's shifting corridors while avoiding the ever-P. The seventh night begins with a suffocating sense of dread. The friends, now deeply traumatized from previous encounters, decide they must uncover the full extent of the farmhouse's horrors or risk being consumed entirely. Their sleep-deprived minds are on edge, and even small noises echo like thunder through the empty hallways. Armed with flashlights and cameras, they cautiously enter the house, feeling its malevolent presence tighten around them. Almost immediately, the hallways seem distorted, twisting unnaturally. A door that led to the attic the night before now opens into a completely different room, filled with shadows that stretch impossibly long. Whispers echo louder than ever, forming faint words, "Leave," or "Join us forever." The friends cling together, hearts racing, but fear quickly turns to terror when one of them vanishes without warning. A scream echoes, followed by silence. The others rush toward the sound, but the room they enter is empty, except for a faint black residue on the floor, as if the missing friend had been absorbed by the house itself. As panic sets in, the house's supernatural manipulation intensifies. Shadows begin moving independently of light sources, and fleeting faces appear in mirrors and windows, watching, mocking, and whispering threats. The air grows impossibly cold, and every attempt to open a door leads them deeper into the same twisted corridors, looping endlessly. A dark, faceless figure emerges in the distance, gliding silently, its presence exuding a palpable hunger and intelligence. In the attic, they find a hidden trapdoor leading to a crawl space, littered with remnants of past victims. The walls are covered in claw marks, and faded messages plead for help. Realizing the house has claimed countless souls before them, the remaining friends understand they are now part of its collection, and their survival hinges on confronting or escaping the entity before it consumes them completely. By night's end, the farmhouse's pal. The eighth night begins with the remaining friends shaken and desperate. They have now fully realized that the farmhouse is not merely haunted, it is sentient, actively observing and manipulating them. With flashlights trembling in their hands, they cautiously enter the house, the air thick with cold and a faint, metallic odor that makes each breath feel heavy. The floorboards groan under their weight, yet the sound echoes unnaturally, as if amplified by the house itself. As they move through the main hallway, the shadows begin to stretch and contort, forming humanoid shapes that vanish when looked at directly. Whispering voices rise around them, pleading and threatening at the same time. One friend shines a light into a cracked mirror and is horrified to see not just their reflection, but multiple dark figures standing behind them, their faces blurred and twisting in silent screams. Determined to escape, they attempt to retrace their steps, but the corridors no longer lead where they expect. Rooms shift, doorways vanish, and staircases stretch into impossible angles. Every exit seems to collapse into another room, trapping them in a constantly changing maze. The temperature drops further, their breaths fogging the air, and the whispers grow into anguished cries, repeating the names of previous victims. Suddenly, a tall, faceless shadow glides silently into view. Its presence is suffocating, and the friends feel paralyzed by fear. The entity does not speak, but communicates through dread, as if feeding off their panic. Flickering lights reveal fleeting glimpses of walls covered with claw marks and old, torn photographs of past intruders. The realization hits. The house has been collecting souls for decades, and the entity is its guardian. By the end of the night, the friends understand that escape will not come from running. The house is a predator, warping reality and feeding on fear, and every step they take keeps them deeper inside its living nightmare. The eighth night begins with the remaining friends shaken and desperate. They have now fully realized that the farmhouse is not merely haunted, it is sentient, actively observing and manipulating them. With flashlights trembling in their hands, they cautiously enter the house, the air thick with cold and a faint, metallic odor that makes each breath feel heavy. The floorboards groan under their weight, yet the sound echoes unnaturally, as if amplified by the house itself. As they move through the main hallway, the shadows begin to stretch and contort, forming humanoid shapes that vanish when looked at directly. Whispering voices rise around them, pleading and threatening at the same time. One friend shines a light into a cracked mirror and is horrified to see not just their reflection, but multiple dark figures standing behind them, their faces blurred and twisting in silent screams. Determined to escape, they attempt to retrace their steps, but the corridors no longer lead where they expect. Rooms shift, doorways vanish, and staircases stretch into impossible angles. Every exit seems to collapse into another room, trapping them in a constantly changing maze. The temperature drops further, their breaths fogging the air, and the whispers grow into anguished cries, repeating the names of previous victims. Suddenly, a tall, faceless shadow glides silently into view. Its presence is suffocating, and the friends feel paralyzed by fear. The entity does not speak, but communicates through dread, as if feeding off their panic. Flickering lights reveal fleeting glimpses of walls covered with claw marks and old, torn photographs of past intruders. The realization hits. The house has been collecting souls for decades, and the entity is its guardian. By the end of the night, the friends understand that escape will not come from running. The house is a predator, warping reality and feeding on fear, and every step they take keeps them deeper inside its living nightmare. Serbaivelde. The 10th night begins with the friends at the brink of despair. After 8 nights of terror, hallucinations, and supernatural attacks, they are battered physically and mentally. The farmhouse has fully revealed its sentient, malevolent nature, manipulating reality and feeding on their fear. Every hallway, staircase, and room now seems alive, shifting subtly to prevent escape. Even the air feels heavier, pressing against their chests, making each breath a struggle. Determined to survive, they attempt to retrace their steps, relying on memory and intuition, but the house twists corridors into impossible loops. Doors lead to rooms they do not recognize, and shadows crawl along walls independently of any light source. Whispers escalate into screams, repeating names of those who entered the house before them, as if the entity wants them to understand their fate. One friend notices that the mirrors now reflect not just the present but fragments of the past, ghostly figures of previous victims reaching out silently. Suddenly, the faceless, humanoid entity emerges fully in the hallway, towering and black as night. It moves with impossible speed, yet is silent, each step exuding oppressive energy. The friends realize the entity is not merely haunting the house. It is the house, the consciousness behind every shifting wall, echoing sound, and moving shadow. Panic sets in, but survival instincts kick in as they recall clues from old diaries and inscriptions seen over the previous nights. They attempt to use light, reflections, and distractions to confuse the entity and find a narrow, hidden escape passage leading to the outside world. As dawn approaches, they finally burst through the farmhouse doors into the cold morning air, hearts racing and lungs burning. Behind them, the house looms silent, yet they know the entity remains, patiently waiting for its next victims. Though they are free physically, the horrors of the night linger in their minds, and the memory of the sentient